And make sure stream is Hey, Abdul Shakur. Hi, yeah, I'm live again. What kind of database am I building? I'm building the database for the future. Actually, I'm building. That's a great question. And just to make sure that you can hear me, I hope you can really hear me. But I'm building the database actually that I've always wanted. And I know that sounds. Let me, because I can hear myself. I'm building the database that I've always wanted. I think that's the simplest way to put this. So, um, my stuff plays back in my ears. So, I'll try to. I'm trying to mute this so I can't. I need to. 1 second. Hearing myself back is driving me nuts a little bit. Oh, I see why. It's because my phone is connected. Okay. Yeah, awesome. So I'm basically building a. I wouldn't. It's not just a. I'm building a graph SQL object database. I wouldn't call it a graph or a SQL or whatever. I'm just building a. I think the query language, what paradigm it belongs to, matters less. But I'm building the database I've always wanted. I'm building a database that will be very, very easy to use and intuitive and extremely expressive. I'm building a database that will feel almost like you're using Python. It's going to be very easy to use, and it's not just the fact that it's going to be easy to use. It's also going to be predictable in not just the use but expected outputs. What I mean by this is that when you write your query, you should be able to have a very pure mental picture of what the output of your data is. So it should be very predictable in terms of use and very easy to use, and also just be able to do almost anything you want to do. Like when you want to express an idea, whether it's an aggregation query, you want to group, or you just want to select a bunch of stuff from the database, you shouldn't have to think a lot. Like once you know the database, the query especially, like you should be pretty much able to express anything you want to express very intuitively. That's the core idea. And my main goal is that when you want to learn to use this database, you should be able to understand how to use this database without reading any documentation. Like, let me say something like this within as much as this line. If I give you this example, let's say an example of let's say a select statement that is just, I don't know, 20 lines. That example alone should teach you everything you need to know to use the database extremely effectively. That you can write an extremely complex data aggregation or data selection just by reading maybe 10 to 15 lines. You shouldn't have to learn like some magic or some things you have to do, and it should be predictable. So, in the sense that if you're using some databases, I don't want to name names, you might there might be like 10 different things that can control out what the database outputs, right? So maybe you have a select statement, you might need to use some extra keywords if you want to get an object or an array or a single field. So it's a lot to learn, a lot of constructs. So the general idea of this database is there should be nothing for you to learn, but there should be everything for you to gain. Yeah, you learn very little, but you do very much, like a lot. Like it feels so intuitive that the readme, the readme shouldn't be more than like 10 to 15 lines. And just knowing those 10 to 15 lines, you can write extremely complex queries that will also be very performant and transparent to you, and also be able to support, meet you wherever you're at, and support wherever you want to go. so you don't feel like you're not able to do enough. What do I think about database, document database in general, or Kuber product? Just best of luck. Thanks, I appreciate that. Document database. Um, I mean, when we talk about database, people talk about database in, uh, I would say, usually you're talking about the front end or the back end. So you're talking about the storage, or you're talking about mostly the query layer, or the like the compute query layer. So when you're talking about documents, oftentimes people refer to the query layer. So I guess you're talking like MongoDB, right? Um, I I feel, especially let's say MongoDB, for example, I think, of course, MongoDB is a very successful company today. I think it's probably worth $20 billion today. 3 years ago, maybe worth 30 something $billion, and their revenue is almost 2 billion. Like, so that's thanks for the detailed description of your DB. You're welcome, Abdushakar. But what I feel about document DB, at least let's use MongoDB because there are a lot of document DBs, right? I think some people will consider Cassandra as document DB, or some others, but I think MongoDB is quite a common one. MongoDB is good. I think it's a great database. The things I don't like about MongoDB is I don't like the fact that they introduced a completely new query syntax. I don't think it's necessary, because I don't think you should do things just for the sake of doing it if it doesn't add a very significant value. So the thing about MongoDB is it feels like, oh, you're able, like, it's very easy to write, but if you start writing very complex queries with like all these aggregation pipelines, like the query not only gets unreadable, it gets so unfamiliar. That's something I didn't like. I don't like about MongoDB. Then also, I mean, everything is trade-off, right? The MongoDB, at least as at the last time I was the last checkpoint I had, MongoDB uses kind of like a single node, single master or primary node, and multiple secondary nodes. So like single writes and multiple read replicas. Then you have an arbiter node, which I think is good if you're writing a read intensive and write not so intensive application. But that's not entirely bad. But I just think that for most kind of use cases, I think I would rather trade off a little bit of latency to have multiple write and multiple read replicas. I think that's much more robust. But I guess it depends on your use case. But I would rather have multiple replicas, multiple write replicas, and a lot of databases do that, like Foundation. Um, and if I want to do a lot of reads, then I can use cache, or I can even have like, you don't if you're using a lot of these databases that support like multiple read, multiple write uh, nodes, you don't have to have them as equal. So you could have like three write replicas and 12 read replicas, so they don't have to be like balanced. So from that perspective, I kind of prefer those kind of databases more. Of course, it's a trade-off, but I'll say for like the general purpose, I tend to prefer those databases that support that paradigm. So for document DB, if you're talking about MongoDB, I don't like the query language. I think I built an ORM for MongoDB like 2 3 years ago, but I had to just give up the entire ecosystem because I don't think it's the right abstraction, the query language especially. I think it's not the best. So I've basically gone full circle. I've tried a bunch of databases. I've written a bunch of like ORMs. I wrote. You check my GitHub. Yeah, you see I'm writing ORM for some databases. Um, but the more I write these ORMs, the more I realize that what I want is completely different from what these databases actually offer. and my philosophy, my paradigm, my thought process is very, very almost radically different from what these databases do and offer. And I've had this idea for a while that I've been boiling in my mind of what I think a database should be or do and how it should. So I was just like, well, I might as well just build this and just bite the bullet. And here we are. So that's basically how I've come full circle to these. What do you think? So what do you mostly work on? Are you interested in Rust? And if you are, what got you interested in Rust? What are you calling this database of yours? This is last question. I promise I'll let you get back to your database building. No, it's totally fine. You can keep on asking questions. Like I'm always open to people asking questions. That's a very good question. Right now, I don't have a name for it. If you have a name you can suggest, I'm very open. I'm very open to that. But I really don't have a name. I'm calling in. I don't know what I'm even calling it right now. And another thing is I actually built a parser for this database from scratch. So I'm basically calling this lower. I don't know what to call it yet. Um, Cause I tried a bunch of parsers and I was not happy with them. I tried like Nom, Chomsky, Yeg, Laprop, like Peg, but I looked into Tricita also. They are just like severely underpowered. I feel like I, I wasn't very happy with the API or the trade-offs they made. And the fact that, for example, with Nom, you needed an extension to do something as fundamental as span tracking. With Chomsky, I think that it's not the right direction in terms of the API. I think the chaining, the way you do the chaining, is counter intuitive and counterproductive, in my opinion, because when you're writing your syntax, I think your your parser should not only compose very well, but it should also read as close enough as the source file or source code reads. But I feel like, or I think Chomsky does the opposite. And one big problem I found myself having with was I I had to be checking the code base, the like source code, original source code, just to be able to do something very basic. So I felt like it was getting in my way a lot. I was not able to express myself to do something a bit custom. So once you veer off the happy path, like you're gonna struggle a lot. The API is very unproductive in my opinion to work with, and even to read. Nom is good. I like Nom, but I don't like the fact that they don't support something fundamental as um, span tracking, and not so much in helping you in your tokenization either. Um, then also some of them would not support streaming. They would not support like asynchronous stuff. So, but I think they are great. Um, so I'm not saying like they are like I've used both of them. I've used Nom in my project. I used Chomsky also, but they just weren't for me. Like at least for what I was planning to build, and that was why I decided to pivot. But I think they're great and they've done a great job. Um, what was I looking for? Yeah. So I don't know the name yet. If you have a name, you can suggest to me. That's pretty much. Um, Wisp database name. that sounds that sounds good. Wisp. Why Wisp? What does Wisp mean? I think you'll come up with a great name someday. Yeah, I'll try. Well, you can keep on suggesting name. And by the way, where are you chatting from? And how did you find my channel? I'm just always curious about that. Yeah, from Pakistan. Your channel, found your channel a long time ago on Twitch, and then subbed on YouTube when you were working on, sir. Oh wow! Welcome back. How's Pakistan today? What time is it in Pakistan? Welcome back. I appreciate you for coming back. How's Pakistan today? 2:15 p.m. Yeah, it was raining in the morning, but very sunny now. Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Pakistan. So where in Pakistan? What was the capital of Pakistan again? Is it Islamabad, right? Sorry, I don't want to sound ignorant now. Yeah, it's Islamabad. Oh yeah, I got it right. Oh, Canada. have I streamed now? So I've been working on this for a minute and I just felt like it might be a good idea to start streaming again because I was trying to be so focused that I didn't stream for a while. And of course, I've been up to a lot, moving around for quite a bit. Uh, but since I'm back now, I just wanted to get myself back into the momentum, and I actually have to sleep now because I was trying to sleep um, before I started the stream. So I feel halfway sleepy and halfway alive to continue working. But I think considering the time, it might be better for me to relax and sleep a little bit, even though I don't feel fully sleepy yet. And that's what I'm gonna do now. Thanks to everyone that joined the stream, Abdul Shakor, and everyone that locked behind the stream. I appreciate you guys for joining. Always stay cool, stay chill, stay careful, stay cheerful, and just keep building. I appreciate everyone, and I can't wait to finish this database and share it with the world. I'm very excited. I think everyone is gonna love what I'm working on, and this is just the beginning. I'm also part of my plan is to build an object storage and event streaming system, like an event bus. Think of like Kafka, NatIO kind of stuff. No, just I'm just trying to build the things that I've always wanted, and I've felt like they could be done differently, or maybe better in terms of the developer experience, and that is what I'm focusing on mostly. Like, how can we significantly improve the developer experience? So I'm excited to just uh, keep working on this and finishing this. I think I'm on a pretty good trajectory and I can finish this in no time. But we just gotta keep doing what we gotta do. I appreciate you, Abdul Shakur. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a little bit of sleep. I'm gonna come back for the stream today. Uh, but I just wanna catch a little bit of break so that I can feel better rested and start streaming longer hours again. I mean, I still work a lot. I still work like 20 hours or even more per day. I've just not been streaming as much. But even as I was starting to work again today, when I woke up briefly, I was like, why don't I just stream this? That was why I decided to come on. But yeah, thanks to everyone for joining. I appreciate you and see you again soon. Perhaps today I'll be back, but I'm trying to restart my regular streaming schedule now that I'm